for pre-need funerals, burials, or cremation since 1975. Curtis and Son Funeral Home, Sylacauga, Childersburg. Graveside service for Jason Beavers, age 89, will be Wednesday at 2 o'clock from Rocky Zion Baptist Church Cemetery with the Reverend Jeffrey Williams officiating. Mr. Beavers died December 16th at St. Vincent St. Clair Hospital. And Anniston Funeral Service in charge of the arrangements. Funeral arrangements to be announced for Helen Reynolds. Those arrangements to be announced by Curtis and Son Funeral Home. Kenneth Ballard, funeral arrangements are not yet set. They will be announced by Curtis and Son Funeral Home. Mr. David Pruitt, funeral arrangement to be announced by Curtis and Son Funeral Home. And funeral service for Johnny Douglas will be today at 2 o'clock from Curtis and Son North, with visitation from 12:30 until 2 o'clock at the North Chapel. Many of you might remember Johnny Michael Buff Douglas, age 65 of Sylacauga. He passed away at his residence on December 16th. That funeral service today at 2 o'clock in Curtis and Son North, with burial in the Evergreen Memorial Cemetery. Visitation 1 hour prior to the service, actually 12:30 until 2 o'clock at the North Chapel. Curtis and Son Funeral Home, North Chapel directing. And funeral service, private funeral service will be held for Mrs. Mildred Inez Hamilton, age 87, who died Thursday at her residence. Pastor Keith Owensby will officiate the service, burial in the Evergreen Cemetery. Curtis and Son Funeral Home, North Chapel directing. Funeral arrangements to be announced for Charles Seifert. Those arrangements to be announced by Curtis and Son Funeral Home. Dan Bennett, funeral arrangements to be announced by Curtis and Son Funeral Home, as well as David Lewis, who passed away on Saturday. Curtis and Son Funeral Home announcing. And Dennis Nichols died Saturday morning at Coosa Valley Medical Center. Curtis and Son Funeral Home announcing. And Tara Aker, at age 38, died at Coosa Valley Medical Center on Saturday. Curtis and Son Funeral Home, North Chapel directing. And Mr. Harold Floyd died at Citizens BMC on Sunday. Curtis and Son Funeral Home, North Chapel directing those. Will be announcing those arrangements at a later date. Funeral arrangements for Mrs. Annie Patterson, age 66 of Talladega, will be announced by S.M. Goodson Funeral Home in Talladega. Ms. Patterson died December the 18th. S.M. Goodson Funeral Home announcing. And Mr. Thomas Johnson, age 72, died December 17th. Community Funeral Home in Sylacauga will announce the arrangements. These obituaries this morning brought to you by Curtis and Son Funeral Home, the North Chapel on Highway 21 in Sylacauga, and the Childersburg Chapel on Highway 280 in Childersburg for pre-need funerals, burials, and cremation since 1975. Curtis and Son Funeral Home, Sylacauga, Childersburg.